Hello and welcome to the AUA Focus Series, a podcast channel by the AUA Media Lab. My name is Skylar Yoder, and I'm a former TAP intern that was here in Armenia in 2023 and worked several days a week here at AUA in the Office of Communications. I'm now based in London working as a digital investigations analyst. I'm here today with Narek Ghazaryan, who is the Chief Communications Officer at AUA, and we're going to talk about all things Media Lab.
I love that. Obviously, it's my favorite topic to talk about. It's the Media
It's very
Lab.
close to your heart.
Absolutely.
So the last time we were here was in November 2023, and this space looked exceptionally different. It was basically just concrete and pillars, and then the table we brought in to do the very first podcast. And now we're in an official full studio. So tell me, since the Media Lab opened, what have the biggest highlights been?
Sure. First of all, so happy to have you back in Armenia. I feel like this has become home for you at this point. And it also feels deja vu to be doing this all over again in a much different setting, obviously, with so much more to talk about. The last time we met, we talked about the theory or the imagination of what Media Lab could be. And now it's a full-on functioning space. And I'm so pleased to have this conversation with you and to actually be in this space that we're able to put hard data into what one day we imagined it to be. So yeah, okay, so cool. Let's talk about how it all happened, first of all. So 5 years ago, we wrote this incredible grant to USAID ASHA program to establish a space that would serve our university community in helping our students or creating the space for our students to really, get engaged with their creative sides, I guess. So really making a resource for students that needed the equipment, the space, and the software, for example, to be able to get engaged in whatever creative works that they were trying to do. So besides serving our internal AUA community, we also embarked on this journey to kind of really elevate journalism and this idea of media literacy, news publications and things like that in the country. So what we wanted to do and what we're doing and what we're going to continue to do is really supporting local journalists, working journalists in, coaching and capacity building, anything that has to do with media, journalism, publications, and things like that. So that was 5 years ago when we wrote the grant. We got the money, which we were very pleased. And a few years ago, we actually started building the strategy of the space and things like that. And when you joined us, we were just in the brinks of just at the beginning of the construction phase. June 6, 2024 is when we actually inaugurated the space and did the ribbon cutting ceremony, which happened here with USAID country director, our president, members of our board of trustees, our local AUA community. It was a very exciting day, but it was very nerve-wracking too, because it actually was becoming a reality. So, and since then, we've had an incredible year. We've really integrated Media Lab as part of our university's students' life. Our students now have all of the resources they would need to, for example, if they want to do their capstone project as creative work, if they are just wanting to get into, digital communications, and if they need a camera, they need a lens, or they need any lights or whatever that they would need, this space has all of that available for them. If once they, reserve the equipment that's available, they go out, they film. We also have the workstations that have all of the softwares that they would need to work with that content. So all of the Adobe Suite, whatever it comes with that, is all available for our students and faculty also. So our faculty have full access to the Media Lab. So we've put in procedures, policies enabling the Media Lab to actually function. So, and all of all of that is done digitally, or it's digitalized. So all of that is done on our website. They go read the terms and conditions. They see whatever equipment is available. They see whatever workstations are available, or physical spaces also, like this recording studio is also available for our students to book. But besides that, we've actually began to host classes in the Media Lab. So both classes that are part of our academic offerings and classes that are part of our non-academic as co-curricular activities for students. So last semester, the introduction to photography, and I need to look at my little cheat sheet here to make sure I pronounce the course's name. So digital literacy was taught here, and I was very pleased to actually be a TA in that course. So I taught with Sean, which was very exciting. Our introduction to photography and introduction to digital skills. So all of those classes were taught here in the Media Lab. But besides that, to also kind of complement that and really have our students dive deep into learning how to use equipment and things like that, we also hosted a highly demanded video production workshop. And we did that in partnership with the AUA extension program. So our extension program, offers various different professional development courses and things like that. So they played a critical role in enabling us to offer a class like that, because they're the ones that kind of reviewed the curricula and things like that. And we offered the physical space for that workshop to take place. And that was open to any student on campus. So it doesn't matter if you're part of the humanities college, the engineering college, or the business college, or the health sciences college. All students were able to apply, and we curated and we selected a 20-student group, which went through this workshop that was offered by the Media Lab. I could go on and on about this, but we've also trained a lot of our students. We have, I think, over 190 members of the Media Lab now. So that means that students have registered, they've gone through the initial training, and have been granted access to the Media Lab. And as members of the Media Lab, they're able to do whatever I mentioned: reserve equipment, reserve space, participate in the workshops and things like that. And of course, we have had a very popular focus series, which is the podcast.
Yeah, and now we're doing the 50th episode.
Can you imagine?
No, it's time's flown. So how has that been? What have been some of the highlights, maybe some guests you've had or topics you've covered in the focus series since I was last here with you?
That's right. And credit to you in a lot of cases too, because we worked on the strategy of the focus series together, which was, again, very exciting. So, when we were having the conversations initially about, a podcasts have become very popular, right? And it's very simple to do. So there are a lot of individuals that are having a lot of different conversations. So when we were having the conversation, I mentioned I wanted our podcast to be quite unique, and I didn't want it to be driven by a host. I wanted it to be driven by content. So I said, we were thinking about, like, how do you think about a topic and how do you identify people to bring together to have conversation around that topic. So all of the 50 focus series podcasts we've hosted, there only have been a few individuals from AUA that have been repetitive hosts of the conversations. Everything else has been individuals that we've brought in from our community that are experts on the topic. So, we've had very different conversations from all different disciplines, all different areas, human rights, civil society, AI. There was a massive conference happening in Armenia, WCIT, and we were very pleased to work with the organizers to bring some of their top speakers to campus to have them be guests on our focus series. Health, journalism, media, information, disinformation, entrepreneurship. And of course, we've used the podcast channel to also disseminate information about our university. We've had conversations with our president when we got reaccredited. Our co-founder, former president, just published his book last year. So we had a wonderful conversation on the focus series about establishing the university and how all of that incredible work came to be, in the early 90s. We've hosted some incredible people as guests. Richard Quest was in Armenia, actually part of WCIT conference. So we were very pleased to have had Richard Quest be a guest. Garo Pailan was a wonderful guest with Dr. Varmer Dermatebosyan from AUA. They had a wonderful conversation. Peter Balakian was recently here, Michael Gurjan, and obviously many industry leaders within the IT sector and also the public sector. We've hosted some incredible individuals from the UN, and it's quite exciting to see when we receive emails from the UN or any other industry saying, hey, we have this guest, or we're hosting this individual in Armenia and we would love for them to be a guest on your podcast. So that really kind of shows that there is an audience to the conversations we're hosting and people are following. And, early days was difficult trying to promote, get people to watch our YouTube podcast. And it is a video podcast. So it's not, people need to sit there and listen and watch. It's not just something that you could just put on Spotify in the background, right? So now we're getting to a place where we have some of our conversations that have over 5,000 views on YouTube. So that's incredible to see. And, the podcast has become really a platform for almost kind of like the English spoken community in Armenia. We've become the platform for them if they're looking for information that is coming out of a university. That means it's, it's fact checked. It's based on fact, science. It's curated in a way that it's not just high level conversations, which seems to be happening quite often, of course, not just in Armenia, globally. So yeah, I've had the pleasure of hosting a couple of people on the podcast. I had a wonderful conversation with Cheryl Edison when she was here as part of the U.S. Embassy's visit. So yeah, no, it's become very cool, and I can't believe we're actually filming the 50th episode now. And initially, we were like, oh, what are we gonna film? Like, what topics? How are we gonna convince people to come and be here? So we were like, let's film at least 5 podcasts so that we have things to share. So we were publishing them initially bi-weekly. So that was giving us enough time to be able to identify topic, guests, film, post-production, and publish. Now we're at a place that we're turning podcast rounds every week because we have filmed so many in the pipeline. And we're having now conversations that are real life, in a sense that things that are happening today. So when we film, we like to turn that around as quickly as possible so that the content seems relevant for the public to listen to. So after our 50th episode, we're going to take a little break and we're going to begin all over again, filming the next season, as we call it, of the podcast series.
Season 2.
Season 2. Soon. Yeah, literally. And, and we've had many conversations with our team to what is the next season going to look like and things like that. But one thing is going to be clear is the fact that we're going to stick to the mission of this podcast, is to create space for conversations to take place with experts from outside of our university, with people within our university community, faculty, staff, students, and alumni. And we're not going to be driving the content based on the host. We're going to drive it based on the conversation that, we think it's important for the public to be aware of, to know, or, to get engaged in.
Yeah, I think it's definitely a distinction for this podcast versus, so many of the others that are out there, that you've focused it rather on not a personality, but on the content and the conversations too, so people get the most out of it that they can when they sit down and watch.
Yeah.
So we've talked a lot about all the great and amazing things and positive side of the Media Lab, but I'm sure there have been some challenges as well in the first year or so of operating. So can you walk me through what some of the challenges have been?
Sure, absolutely. Yeah, of course. I mean, you can't build something to this capacity with this much, effort without challenges also. So obviously, I mean, the biggest challenge that we faced, just like many other organizations that were part of the USAID world, is when the USAID funding ended. So the grant was still the grant was active when we received the notice that funds were being frozen initially. So that was a challenge to kind of understand how do we continue to build and how do we kind of bring this into a completion. So we were quite lucky because we had inaugurated the Media Lab last year. We had purchased a lot of the equipment and the things that needed for the space to operate. So when we received the notice that the grant was not going to continue anymore with funding, we restructured a little bit, but it was okay in a sense that the Media Lab was going to we were able to finish what we started as far as building, purchasing the commodities and things like that. The university had a couple of different other grants that, were quite different. There were many challenges with that. But when speaking about the Media Lab specifically, that was a big challenge, but we were able to overcome that. The other challenge was it was a huge learning curve for all of us in our department, right? Like we had never, I have an incredible team. We have an incredible team, but we all come from very different disciplines. And of course, some of our team members come from TV production and newsrooms. But our mission is way beyond a newsroom, right? So we are doing quite a few different things. So it was a huge learning curve to understand what is working, what is not working. Is the check-in, check-out system working? Do our terms and conditions make sense? Initially, when we were doing this, we're like, sure, people could check out the camera for about a week. Then we're like, oh no, we only have 6 cameras for students to check out. Then we were like, oh, then we're not giving enough opportunity for all students to have access to it. So we learned, but we adopted, and we were quite flexible in changing things around to actually, and we're still part of that journey. Like that's going to continue forever because times are changing. Technology is changing. Our student demographics are changing. So we're going to remain very, very flexible in adapting to that. The other big challenge was the physical space. I didn't realize how popular the Media Lab would actually become.
It's a good problem to have, but
it's still a problem, right? We get requests to host classes here. We get requests to host events here. Our students are constantly reserving equipment. So we're dealing with that of understanding how do you really, manage the space properly to make sure that the academic classes are taking place. We're able to offer the co-curricular classes that we want to be offering, and also make sure that the space is not reserved from 9 a.m. to 6 p.m. For not administrative, but events and things like that, because it is a space for students, so that if they need to be recording audio, that this space is available for them to also be able to do that. So that's been quite a bit of a challenge for us. But again, we're adapting. We're trying to understand how do you manage a space like that. When there wasn't a whole lot of places that we could benchmark either. That was the other thing, right?
Right. It's quite an innovative concept.
It's innovative and it's very different and it's very unique to this side of the world, right? You don't find a lot of media labs that are connected to a university. So in order for us to, to understand how to do this properly, Stepan and I, who's our operations manager at the Media Lab, we took a trip to the Central European University in Vienna because they had built something very similar to what we were doing. And that was an incredible week that we got to spend there. This was early days in the Media Lab. And I remember when Stepan and I visited, we were still in construction phase here. And we walked into their student production room where they had all of these computers and students working on their content. And me and Stepan looked at each other. We're like, where's ours?
You're like, oh, wait.
We were so keen on the equipment, making sure that, we had the multi-purpose room 1, where we would host all of the classes, the multi-purpose room 2, where we would create the production space, or the space where we host the interviews and, the filming room. But it didn't cross my mind that like, okay, the students reserve an equipment, they go, they film, and how did they work with that?
And then what? Right.
And then what?
Yeah.
So that was really so we came back right there and then. Actually, I wrote an email to our team. I was like, hey, like we need to understand how do we restructure the space a little bit. So, and I'm glad we did that in early days. So we were able to adapt the physical space, and that agility has really become part of our model of like how do we function.
Yeah, I think that's great because, like you said, there's always new technology, new trends, new things happening. So being able to adapt a bit is going to help continue to make sure that the Media Lab is relevant and the students can use it in the best way possible. So on that note, what is next for the Media Lab? Are there any new plans or anything you can share?
Yeah, absolutely. So, when we talk about the future plans of the university, obviously, since we met last, one of the most important updates within our university is the fact that we launched a multi-platform journalism program. And we were very excited to actually recruit the first cohort of students. And in the summer, classes began. So the Media Lab is literally a lab for the students that are part of that program. It's a very exciting program. That's funded by U.S. Embassy in Armenia in partnership with Washington State University. And in the summer, the students that were going through the courses here were able to use the Media Lab when they're learning about broadcasting, photojournalism, and all of that. So we have all of the resources for the students to be able to, really gain a wonderful experience in the multi-platform journalism master's program. So we'll continue with that. In the fall, we're going to continue housing classes here. Actually coming up with the program, we're going to be hosting again Richard Quest via virtual event that's happening in September. So it's tailored towards the students in the multi-platform journalism program, but obviously we're going to open it up to other students and also members of the public that are interested in participating in this conversation with Richard Quest. Next is we're offering this incredible 1-month certificate program on filmmaking that is going to be led by the very famous Michael Ghazaryan, who did the podcast here, and then we got to know each other, and we were very pleased to invite him to Armenia. We're very pleased to have him at AUA, spending a month 3 times a week teaching this course. The most exciting part about this course is that it's fully funded by the university's efforts. So that means we're going to be able to offer it with full subsidy to anyone in Armenia, not just at AUA, that is interested. So we've launched the application process already. We have received quite a few people interested in joining the program. So Michael and the team are going to go over the applications, and we're going to select the cohort that's going to go through this. It's going to be an incredible experience. So this is one way of us engaging the Media Lab with the greater community in which we work in. So besides giving that access to our very own students, we want to make sure that all students in Armenia that are interested in the field have access to the resources that are offered in our university also. So yeah, and then we're just going to kind of continue to elevate everything that we do, because the Media Lab also, obviously, it's a huge component of the communications department. The Media Lab produces all of the creative work within our university marketing communications department. So all of the videos we make, all of the graphics and things like that are all now channeled through the Media Lab. And we're just going to continue elevating that to, continue positioning our university to the best university in Armenia and in the region, for us to be able to recruit students, to recruit faculty, and just drive the mission of the university forward, and all of the strategic areas that we have now put in place that the university is moving towards.
Well, that all sounds really amazing. I wish I could apply to your 1-month course. Maybe I'll come back for that.
Honestly, it's going to be so cool. I can't imagine what an exciting experience it's going to be for our students to have access to someone like Michael for such a long period of time. It's not just, they really are going to dive deep, not only into the content, but also his experience of becoming a filmmaker and an actor and producing and all that stuff. And it's going to be combined with storytelling, working on scripts and things like that. So it's very exciting. We're super, super excited. It's the classes, I think, are in September. So they're coming up. Yeah. And so as we begin moving the Media Lab, as we continue working on the Media Lab, understanding kind of like, we have so many different directions that the Media Lab is going, supporting students, hosting workshops, working with journalists, supporting the university's communication department in how we position the university. All our visuals, all of our creatives are built, are done or channeled through the Media Lab. We work with equipment, we work with space that needs maintenance, that needs operation, that needs overhead, right? So the Media Lab has its own team that work on all of the aspects that we've discussed. So in order to do that, the Media Lab also has become one of the facilities that is available for naming. So this is an opportunity for individuals that would like to put their name on a facility in the university to show their support of the work that we're doing. And we have different classrooms that are named, different facilities on campus that are named. And the Media Lab is one of those namings also. So hopefully, philanthropists will come forward to name the Media Lab, to create an endowment, which will enable us to have access for funding to be able to, maintain the operations of the Media Lab, to continue really serving our students in all aspects of, equipment maintenance and purchasing new equipment and things like that. And so that's it. I could talk about the Media Lab for days, as you can imagine. Because there is so much to talk about. It really has become such an important part of AUA now. It seems like when we do campus tours now, it's like a staple place now that we bring our guests, and we're very excited when we receive the positive feedback saying, I wish our university had a space like this and things like that.
Yeah, I was going to say the same. It was so exciting for me, obviously, to see how it's changed since I've last been here, but it's an amazing space. I'm very happy for you all.
Of course. And, a space, what makes a space incredible are the people that use it. So and we've had these conversations also. When we were having the conversation, we all really were like, how do we make the colors pleasant? How do we want this place to be filled with students, people wanting to learn, wanting to use, obviously we're careful. Obviously we have the terms, conditions that students sign and things like that. But we're also, you learn by playing. So you got to touch, feel, play, mess it up a little bit in a sense to be able to get comfortable with all of this equipment and things like that. And if they can't do that in a university, in the place that, they feel the most safe at, they're never going to be comfortable with all of that. So I also wanted to make sure that, it's a comfortable place. Do you know what I mean? It's not like don't do this and don't do that and all that stuff. But
red tape and
literally
slash slides
everywhere. But of course, we have rules, regulations, because this is meant to serve for years to come. It's not just for now, for this period of time. This is something that has to be timeless, and we want to make sure that we're creating something that will be integrated into this university's journey in a lot of ways. So whoever is in the position of leading the Media Lab, whoever is in the is using the Media Lab, we want to make sure that they all have all of the tools that they will need to do that exactly.
Thank you so much, Narek. This was a lovely conversation. I'm glad to be back in Armenia and have the chance to speak with you about Media Lab here at AUA.
Thank you, Skylar. It's always a pleasure having you in Armenia, and of course having you at AUA. You are, in every way possible member of our AUA family, as we say it. So thank you so much for, being here and coming down to the Media Lab, A, to see it, B, to host this conversation with
absolutely.
me. Thank you.